Hello, it's Scott Manley here with episode 29 of Interstellar Quest. Our first pass, or first guess at a single stage to orbit spaceplane has made it into orbit. Quite easily, in fact. We have excess fuel. It's time for us to start our mission. Our mission is to, of course, launch this space probe. Actually, the space probe was there as a kind of dummy payload so we could check it out. But we figured we might as well make it functional. So let's decouple the node and prepare to launch. And, okay, that's not what I expected to happen. Come on. RCS, come on. Go down. I'm trying to go down, plane. Hello, where are your RCS jets? I'm not seeing any. That's not good. For some reason, my RCS is not... Okay, I've got a little bit of bump. I get a little bit of motion there. RCS... No. Turn it on and off. We have actually burned some fuel. What's going on there again? Let's try turning it back on. Oh, no, now we get something. We still don't have any jets happening. I don't know what is going on here. Okay, we do have translational control in the RCS, even although we cannot see anything happening. We don't see any little puffs of combusted fuel coming out. We are definitely burning fuel in this process, so it is a mystery. I will mark this down to alien interference. Oh, the drama. Let's deploy the panels. It has made it out of the cargo bay. I won't say it's made it out unscathed. It probably has a few scratches here and there. What the... This thing is not working either. It's wanting to return... This is like the old style SAS. It wants to rotate back to where I left it. What the... Oh, wait a second. Okay, come back. This thing is just bizarre. I'm definitely calling bugs on this one. This is not one to maneuver the way I want. Okay. Well, it's pointed roughly the right way. Remote tech is not installed, but the animations are working correctly, so I can deploy that one. It won't be pointed at anything, but I can fix that later. I've been careful about combining remote tech and Ferrum right now, because it appeared that they both had great potentiality for making things just not fly properly. And that second thing is not working. Ooh, time for a beauty shot. A beauty shot, except the aircraft is wanting to point in the wrong direction again. What are you doing? Jeb, no, wait. Who is messing with the controls here? Okay, come on. Okay, we've got some control back. Well, once again, that's a very nice view of the planet there. Oh, look, we've got our jets back. Our RCS jets are actually visible. Let's see. We've now translated backwards. Let's see if we can see the sat. Oh, there it is there. Look at that. I guess we'd better perform some sort of inspection, visual inspection to make sure the satellite has not been too severely damaged by being shaken around in the cargo hold like something that gets shaken around inside of something. It's like a cocktail shaker. It's like a satellite shaker inside a giant space cocktail. Okay, so we've got the satellite launched. It's in a safe orbit. It is time to return back to Kerbal, and we're going to do this after one orbit. It's not even one orbit. We're not even spending a whole thing in orbit. We're going to return back basically as soon as possible, because we want to land back at the Kerbal spaceport. Because the planet is rotating, it has, of course, moved eastwards, and so I'm going to come down, and then I'm going to have to fly more or less eastwards to try and actually catch the landing location. Now, of course, there was a mysterious requirement for the space shuttle to do something very similar. It was required to go into launch northwards or southwards into a polar orbit, and then come around after one orbit and land back in the US. And that's one of the reasons why the space shuttle had such large wings, because it needed the cross-range capability to be able to pick its landing site after a couple of orbits. It basically one whole orbit and then a landing, descent, that would take 3 to 4 hours. And that meant that you would have to deal with the fact that the US was rotating underneath it. And while you could pick a landing site, a launch site on the east coast and a landing site on the west coast, you still needed the wide wings to give yourself cross-range capability and put yourself in the right location and everything else. And of course, those large wings then had a lot of knock-on effects on the rest of the shuttle. It meant that the design... It meant that the design had this large underside. It had, they couldn't launch it with certain behaviors because it was going to be, I don't know, because the aerodynamics were, yeah, okay. Never mind. Point is, they built it with these large wings in mind for this specific mission. And then they never actually flew that mission, ever. So whatever the US Air Force was wanting it for, they never actually used it, and therefore a key part of the shuttle design, or a key part of the very familiar shuttle silhouette, those giant wings, that was the only reason they were needed, right? If they hadn't needed those, then we could have had a totally different shuttle design, one which might have been less expensive to fly, although simply the fact that they wanted to have crew and payload on every single mission also made it very expensive. But maybe we will get back to that one day when we can have single-stage-to-orbit vehicles that will actually work. Of course, the Skylon design that this is somewhat... obviously this is taking some cues from Skylon because it's using the Rapier engine. Skylon is intended to be unmanned, and, I guess it'll ultimately have the option of putting crew on, but the initial one is designed to launch satellites, so it's unmanned. Why send up a life support system, crew cabin, controls, and all that, when you could just send up an empty spacecraft with a, computer to run everything? Okay, so I'm using RCS thrusters here to bring it down, and this is not happy. It is still rotating randomly. I'm getting weird phantom forces when I try to rotate. It's like, I selected the crew cabin. It's not like it's translated in the wrong direction. I think something's playing silly buggers with my control systems. That's my analysis of the situation. Okay, so we've performed our deorbit burn. We're going to transfer fuel forwards again because I want to make sure we're pretty stable. As you know, transferring center of mass forwards makes us more stable and therefore less likely to flip out and kill everyone on board, because that would be unfortunate. And okay, no, this is... I don't like the way... This seems to have some weird phantom forces going on. You see, I'm trying to... The yaw is behaving really strange here. Oh, God. Okay. Well, let's get into time warp when I've got it pointed in roughly the right way. Okay, 10 times time warp. Heading towards the poles here. Okay, let's fix it down a little more. Okay. Where are we? We're going to probably come down over the poles, re-enter over there, and then... Okay! Oh! What? That's not cool! Crew member Jebediah Kerman died of G-force damage? Too much decel... I'm calling bugs on this. That's a definite bug, I'm sorry. That is a reload. Something is playing silly buggers. I am suspecting that Ferrum Aerospace is probably responsible for the weird phantom controls and possible weird aerodynamics and... Well, okay, so he's also responsible for making the game a lot more interesting and fun. Let's see if we die again. Okay, we're not going to time warp through that all-important atmosphere space barrier this time. In the old versions of Kerbal Space Program, like 0.9, the atmosphere space barrier happened at 35 kilometers, and it was like a brick wall. One of my earliest videos showed flying spacecraft into this at high speeds and how they would just break up from the aerodynamic forces. Okay, here we go. Getting close, and we're not exploding. Yay! Now we're going to fly this to the surface. Now we have skipped over that particular bug. We're going to head to the surface, aerodynamic style, and land it gracefully back at Kerbal Space Center. Now, we have excess fuel here, so even if the gliding version doesn't have enough cross range, we have more than enough fuel that we can fly it like a jet aircraft. I mean, given how much fuel I have left, I could probably upgrade this thing to let it fly out to Minmus with ease. Of course, we have to get through this test flight. At least now we seem to be doing rather well here. We're just going to keep it, aligned along the horizon, except time... Well, wait a second, I time accelerated, and I'm diverging! No, I'm not going to flat spin this. Come on! Nose down! It's not working. Control from here. Is there like a weird bug going on? Nope, it's not responding. Not responding to any pitch. It's barely responding to roll. Oh, man. I don't know why to crash this thing. These guys have parachutes, of course. Come on, nose down, RCS. Bring the RCS in. Nope, toggle torque. Nope, that's not doing any... Okay, so the cockpit torque... Wait, I'm decelerating at about 2 Gs at 60 kilometers. That's ridiculous. I am, large scale stall, no kidding. I think there is perhaps there is in fact a bug with Ferrum Aerospace, a version which I updated not more than a couple of days ago. This is just ridiculous. This thing is, if this is decelerating at 2G at 55 kilometers, it will probably float to Earth like a feather, like a paper airplane, perhaps. I cannot get any control back on this. Okay, so I could just blame this on alien interference and see what happens. I mean, at the very least, they can parachute out. They've successfully survived re-entry with the rigors of re-entry like a feather. Now, I think to be fair, I shall probably see if I can upgrade Ferrum and see what happens. And indeed, I have upgraded Ferrum Aerospace to 12.5.2, which is a bug fix release, which may in fact address this particular bug. And of course, now we have to go through the whole re-entry cycle, and without the benefit of crazy stuff happening, it's just a standard re-entry. So we're going to watch it at 4 times regular speed. Now, you notice that we're re-entering over the Arctic, over the poles, and we still have to travel a quarter of the way around the planet before we get into the ocean to the west of the Kerbal Space Central Continent, right? Now, I'm just trying to provide, give it a small turn, but, I don't want to overdo it because we do know that it's unstable above 20 degrees deflection. But as it happens, I was trying quite hard at times to increase the deflection, and actually what happens is this thing, once we get down into the deeper atmosphere, is incredibly stable. It flies like a dart once we are... once the atmosphere really kicks in and we can't really turn it. So you see me providing like a 50% pitch on that, and it's barely moving. So using just the pitch controls, they're 100% pitch, and I'm trying to lift it up as much as I can, and it is doing almost nothing. We're deviating less than 5 degrees. But at the same time, we are using this to lift our nose up and make sure we don't descend too fast. You can see that we are actually deflecting our descent track to the east, so that we're deflecting towards the Kerbal Space Center. Of course, we may have entered into enemy airspace or something like that, but depending how you look at it. That was, of course, one of the requirements for the shuttle, was that it wasn't supposed to be actually flying over enemy airspace at any time. It was, so it could be in orbit, but it couldn't actually be below 100 kilometers. And anyway, now it's back to old me for some actual controlled flight. Okay, we've dropped below 1 kilometer per second, and we are now flying like an aircraft. And I'm starting to get somewhat concerned because I'm pulling up as hard as I can, and this thing is barely deviating from the path. It is not responding. It is incredibly stable. I'm going to try pumping the fuel backwards into this tank to perhaps to move the center of mass backwards, and therefore perhaps give me some more control authority, decrease the stability of this aircraft. And you know what? I have some excess oxidizer there. We'll probably get rid of that in a minute. Going returning very slowly. At least we're starting to point in the right direction. We're not going to crash over enemy territory or something like that. No, we don't want to do that. Okay, 400 meters per second. Now we're really getting into it. We're dropping below. Oh wow! Now we're starting to turn. Yeah, look at that. See, this is it. Now that we're dropping below Mach 1, we're actually starting to get some real force. And the engines are relighting. We've just got a little bit of thrust there. So we're just going to try and keep it in that regime. Yeah, oh wow. So now we have control. Everything is working excellently. We just got to turn our way and navigate our... I don't know how far away that is, but it must be more than 100 kilometers because I don't see any markers. So this is going to be a long flight, but I think I don't know how much... I think we'll have enough fuel because, of course, atmospheric engines are incredibly fuel efficient. Of course, the Sabre engine is actually a rocket powered by... with the oxidizer provided by oxygen. It's not like a jet engine where it's a high bypass turbojet, right? A high bypass jet, basically. You know, in regular jet engines, most of the thrust actually comes from the air being diverted around the engine by the fan blades, and only about 10% actually goes through the middle of the engine. Okay, there we go. Yeah, liquid fuel and oxidizer. Yes, got to remember. How do I... Oh yes, go up to TAC fuel balancer. Where are we? Oxidizer. Select. Oh wait, no, let's make it dump at 100 times speed. Dump! Oh wow, that was fast. Nice. Okay. Well, onwards and homewards. Menu, please get out of the way. No, don't want to highlight you. Okay, I guess I have to open the fuel balancer. No? Oh, there it goes. Okay, thank you. Now I have my UI back. It is time to head home under the power of these rapier engines. We're just exceeding 300 meters per second, which is a good speed. And a good speed it is, indeed. So yeah, it is a long flight, this distance. 300 meters per second, it's going to take, means that we're covering about a kilometer every 3 seconds, which means it's 5 to 10 minutes to actually get to the Kerbal spaceport from this location. And of course, I didn't want to make you all watch that in real time. Why would you? The controls come back exceptionally well, everything's fine. So yeah, I mean, I was saying that the Sabre engine on the Skylon is actually it is actually a rocket. It has rocket bells inside it. It doesn't work like a bypass jet. The way the Skylon Rapier engine, or Rapier, the Sabre engine works is they have a pre-cooler, right? So normally when air comes into a jet engine, you have to slow it down to subsonic speed so you can actually do stuff with it, such as burn it. Or rather use it to burn other fuels. So if it's going supersonic, it doesn't burn, and that's part of the reason why you develop scramjets, because scramjets allow combustion at high Mach values, right? So in current aircraft, the air intakes are responsible for slowing down the incoming air to subsonic speeds. And when I say slow down, I mean the air is actually sitting still, but the aircraft is moving into it at, say, Mach 2. Now, as the air comes in, what they do is the air intakes are shaped so that they generate shock waves. And as the air passes through these shock waves, it converts its kinetic energy into thermal energy. So it slows down, but instead gains a lot of heat in the process. And the problem is, if the heat gets too much, then it will make your engine melt and explode, and you can't really use it particularly well. So the Skylon concept, or the Sabre concept, is you have this giant cooler, or you have a pre-cooler that takes this hot air and cools it down by passing it through a cooling loop that actually uses the cryogenic fuel from the engine to help cool things down. This pre-cooler has to be incredibly efficient. Apparently it has to cool the air from 1000 centigrade to minus 150 in like a fraction of a second, basically. Because, I mean, if you think about it, how much time does air spend in an engine? It spends very little time in the engine as it comes in and gets burned and shoots out. So it has to happen incredibly quickly, and that's really where the science is on the Sabre engine. Of course, Kerbal Space Program by default doesn't actually care about the air intakes, and that's why turbojets are so incredibly powerful right now, because their flame out behavior was fixed, and they don't have to worry about the air coming in being super hot, which is why the Interstellar mod actually changed it so that if the air intakes are operating at high Mach values, then they make your turbojets overheat, therefore making them a little less overpowered. Okay, we are coming in 1 kilometer, final approach. We're just going to burn on these engines at very low thrust. We're more or less maintaining this level of thrust. We don't want to slow down too much. This is not a dead stick landing. Oh, a little glitch there from the actually loading stuff. It's not a dead stick landing, right? We have fuel here, and to be honest, I think if we look at that. I mean, we could come around for another pass. Hey, we could fly to the island space center if we want, but figure we'll do this by the book. Almost perfectly lined up there. Look at that. Yeah, it'd be nice to have an instrument landing system. Yes, I know there are mods that do it, but it would be nice to have an instrument landing system. Let's cut the power now. We don't want to be going too fast. That's the main thing. And this is where I realized I should probably have put some air brakes on this. Yeah. No, and I didn't set either of these things to be flaps, because to be honest, if I had these things set as flaps, I figured it would be just as likely to cause the thing to, spin out of control and kill me. And I haven't tested the flap versus spoiler behavior in this particular plane just yet. I did try to build it in a rush. Okay, now we're getting more things loading, and we are very low to the surface. We gotta keep that up. Try to touch down on the runway here, a little to the right of center, and get ourselves straight again. Come on, the flaring is incredibly hard to control with this. This is why I'd really like a joystick. Okay, here, come on, come down. 10 degree, less than 10 degree, 5. Oh! Darn. Well, that was such a good flight until then, other than the bugs and the, everything else. I'm quite impressed. Okay, so we clearly need to work on our landing gear situation a little, but other than that, mission successful. The first single stage to orbit reusable spaceplane has returned successfully, mostly. A new frontier in space exploration has been opened up. I'm Scott Manley. Fly safe.